It's 4 o'clock on October 3rd. It's time for Poets in Pajamas 122 with Irene Cooper this week. I am so excited to be here. Thank you, Poets in Pajamas out there everywhere, and also Sundress Publications. This is really exciting and also weird despite a year and a half of Zoom kind of talking into the void. But I'm up for it and I'm ready because I not only have some poems that I want to share, but I also have some beautiful artwork by Madeline Cooper. And I made this book. I just made one book, but I wish I had a bunch of them. But I'm going to share this book with you. I have a couple of books. One is a novel from Vegetarian Alcoholic Press, which is a poetry press. And this is a novel. But that's the kind of wild folks they are over there at Vegetarian Alcoholic, whom I adore. And Spare Change from Finishing Line Press came out earlier this year. But I'm not going to read from those. I'm going to read some poems that I've written, if not in my pajamas in the last year, then definitely in clothes I have slept in. I don't think I'm alone in that. Let's see. Oh, nice. Everything's coming up. Hi, Shannon. Yeah, 15 rockin' minutes. Let's go. Plus questions. Get them ready because apparently the feed is slow and I might be slow to answer. So in our pajamas, there's nothing like a little story time. Poets in Pajamas. Poems by Irene Cooper. Art by the wondrously talented Madeline Cooper. I won't get through all these, but I will show all the pictures. Late season. 33 sepia squint, short pants, Aunt Chickie's Ellis Island ankles. Past the boardwalk. There's the bridge. Took the L from Brooklyn to Broadway. Cheap seats, liverwurst, apple in a pocket. Chocolate for the blocks back home. Melting like a melody. 2 score on October Bliss is your Yankees in the series. WPIX on mute, CC in water, but make it light. Your golden age flickers on a loop. Sure, Gershwin wrote a decent book, but no one scored like Hart or Porter in the day. Loving cup brims ashy by the bed. Glossy blocks of black and white of a baby. A novel teeters at the beveled lip. Only lately did you swap F. Scott for Updike. More sex and Nick's a fool. The stars are bright for years. It was hard to see the stars. Exactly what I remember the subway looking like. I think it looks a lot better now. Gentrification. I'll show you this picture first because it's so good. Siren. Great Aunt Helen loved a smart hat, a silk blouse, and 2 bedtime fingers of Johnny Walker with the New Yorker. In a Bureau photo, she's chic in a fox wrap waving from the deck of a cruise ship contained. She never pat the cushion just to raise the dirt anyone could see. She'd been an excellent companion. In the end, she docked at the Jersey Shore, not even Brooklyn, walked the boardwalk in heels and a belted trench, pricked the supper air with Chanel No. 5, whispers in her wake, ankles crossed at the silken bone. Knees tweeted and stacked on chintz, a peak of French slip to shame the doilies. All that's lacking is a porter, cocktails on a silver tray. She called my father Bobby, sounding less like his mother than mine. Impossible to picture a wee Helen, or see her and her sister Wanda doling out flopper tails like boarding house bread. Chocolate cake and wet caraway slaw cooked on a cop's clock. but it all comes roaring right back with a slice of raw tongue. This one's a double picture because it's a concrete poem, something I got really interested in this past year. The idea, I always use as a point of revision, I plug stuff into a lot of different forms, usually a prose poem, almost always couplets, a sonnet quite often. But some poems just didn't fit to any of those, and this is one of them. Remote. DreamWorks did not invent middle school sardonicism as a brand of humor, but have reified it, placed it on the tongues of anime heroes and tender villains to melt like a communion wafer or cyanide tablet. Isn't it adorable to witness the hatchlings practice bitterness? Oversized sockets abrim, another motherless. Prick is an epithet, a way in. The answer was inside you all along. Click. Maggie bonds with her mother in the last season of Northern Exposure, rebounds from heartbreak by investing in Alaskan real estate because who needs a man? I'm going to skip this poem, but I'm going to show you this. I just want that kitchen. I want to be in that kitchen. The bird apparently didn't, though. Indifference belongs to the trees. Just because they're taller doesn't mean they're watching over us. The apple bloomed ecstatic this year. We don't harvest the apples. The birds eat most of them, or they rot, feed the ground. Either way to the tree. The raven and the jay and all the rest of the winged populace are not indifferent to the trees, which provide shelter and vantage points. My kid went to a school named after a conifer, finally free to choose her own company. Anxious flock, unkind in their molten disorientation. She's in her 20s now, smart about a lot of things, opinionated, what a flag can mean, what it doesn't. I never could protect her. The other day, I watched a murder of crows flap back an intruder. They disappeared then, into the trees. Birds don't fucking play. They don't. About 150 ravens just flew over the house. And, you know, it's October. I'm hoping that's why. It was a little startling. Makeup. The Fab Five are in Japan. Let's all be rebels, the hair guy says. I wonder how I perform myself, if it's an art I'm forgetting. My mother warned me to lean forward in photographs, wear lipstick, if nothing else. I watch a show in which leprosy makes a woman look younger. To cook is to perform risk. You must know your shiitakes from your death cap. The dog licks at my fizzy water. Not thirsty, she just likes to screw with me. Doctors make the woman well. She leaves the ward looking every minute of her 37 years. Yeah, not that one. Oh, the pictures. $2.80. It does me no good to be good to me now. Violence has changed me. Louise Glick, October. Nothing does but the wind. You insist on the skittish moon, a blanket of breathing dark on a night that passes as a film. I don't touch your cobbled body, except to swaddle it in scraps as you sleep in the cold grass, under a wind that carries everything in its pore. The tree, the streaky sky, the siren, and the large, lonesome truck. Wind carries the wild cold you lift your face to, and I see you in this darkness, if not through it. This one I'll read twice because it's one of them, they're contrapuntal poems that you could read multiple ways. And I'm going to read it 2 ways. The Irish citizen, versed in conflict negotiation, says that a country incorrectly birthed takes as long to right herself as the body, politic and fleshed, takes in her mooring. Tipped infinity, we floated on a surety of course, despite a record of resisting correction, run aground in half as many turns. History confirms the math by way of inverting it. No time left to make a circuit of meanderings. Can we steer these bruises toward their salted spit? The Irish citizen, versed in conflict, tipped infinity. History confirms negotiation. The math says that a country we floated by way of inverting it, incorrectly birthed, on a surety of course, despite a record of resisting correction, takes as long to write. No time left. Herself as the body to make a circuit, politic and fleshed, run aground of meanderings. Takes in her mooring in half as many turns. Can we steer these bruises toward their salted spit? Why can't I do this correctly? There we go. Math, physics. They wore combat boots to get high, and any welded bit of sound could be a band name howled after eating the moon as the stars sheared the fur from their felt. Young herd tanned of its hide, they screamed beneath jet engine din and the mighty clack of the Amtrak Express. Loving all loud but for hue, what color they knew fumed from a can, and on those rock candy occasions they slid surprised with their own sugar, poured into washboard vocals, ground to grit on cracked parquet, sweetening the rubbered smell of exhaust. I wrote a lot of cinquains last year, which are a form in 5 lines that is 24682 syllabically. Adelaide Cropsey or Crapsey was the inventor of that, a fantastic name. And cinquains can, if you look in the books, take other forms, but this was a form that really resonated, and this is one of them. Just read the news. It's bad, but the dog needs a walk, and my dark roots won't go and bleach themselves. They can be kind of dirgy. That one was a little lighter hearted. I have a couple of more minutes. Let's see. I'd just like to show a little bit more of the concrete stuff I was working with. So sometimes the form got very specific. Other times a little more abstract, although I think we can probably guess what that one is. I'll read one of them. I've been a sucker too, crushed on the honey-voiced jockey and hard, the suffering, sensitive poet, both outed and felled for abuse of power. HPP is the acronym for wanting to jump a cliff when you're not self-destructive. L'appel du vide. In 1958, Disney staged Wild Wilderness, in which Norway lemmings do not enact mass suicide. Brown lemmings, bought at $1 a piece, get dumped at the edge from a truck. A few hang back, unromanced by Kierkegaard's dizziness of freedom. Uncle Walt was dogged in his anthropomorphism of rodents, but even excellent production value can't make a smart animal heed the call of the void, as these men do. Leaning too far from too high, as if no gravity, as if someone isn't longing to give them a tap. All right. One more, and then I'll see if there are any questions. A little bit of an abstract one there. The poet posits Jesus was deliberate in his contradiction, set out to foster a kind of creative imagination in his followers, but we're more tender than smart. Theoretical individualists who take kinder to a commandment than a concept, a mistake to believe we'd appreciate his God-given irony, ill-equipped as we are for the cosmic joke. Not even omnipotence can stop a flock once it gets tumbling downhill. Sweet Jesus, what can you expect of a people after they've suffered the locusts, the plagues, been flooded with such love? All right. I do have one more, possibly, but there's a place I have to toggle. Let's see. I'm going to keep talking until I figure out how to toggle questions, because I thought I knew, but I don't think I know. It was a rough year, right? I really appreciate this whole Zoom business for being able to reach out to people I would never have had contact with in the course of a year, poets and other writers, but mostly poets, right? Because, we tend to stick to our little communities. So even if we have a dedicated local community, it's only so big. And it's really nice to be able to tune in to Cincinnati Lit, or someplace in California, or someplace in Boston, and and hear what's happening in those pockets of the world. There's a lot to diss about this whole screen experience, but that isn't one of those things. Most of these poems are a part of a working project. I've been calling it a chapbook because that's how many poems there are, called Screenshot. And I was thinking a lot, I think as many of us have, about this little cinematic point of vision we've had for the past year and a half. Lens has never been quite so literal. Let's see. Questions. Where is this book available? It's not. I made one. Unless somebody wants to talk to me about putting that stuff together. Madeline and I have been trying to do projects together. Well, mostly her whole life. But we never really did get it together. And when Poets in Pajamas gave me the thumbs up for a reading months ago, it was so exciting. And almost immediately I thought, oh, well, Pajamas, children's book, illustrations. And, granted, these are not, although children's books are getting super cool, have been super cool for years. But this project kind of went together. And I'm hoping that we, not only that we do more, but sort of flesh out these ideas that we get and then sort of let peter out a little bit, because there ain't nothing like completion. Let's see. Nancy's here, the thurible. Okay. Questions. Well, yes, I was not in charge of book design, and Madeline probably would have preferred to have been, because I was sort of like, get it done now. But there wasn't any wrong way to go, right? Like, that's the back cover. I think I put the feather, and I was going to sing you all, and we have time. I could still do it. I was going to sing you all the lullaby I made from the C.A. Conrad poem that I wrote. There's the feather. I love the feather. Feather. Which I'll do if there aren't any questions. How cool am I? It's eye of the beholder stuff there. This one was fun. This one was in Street Cake magazine, which is a super fun UK online journal. They're really into visual experimentation. This is kind of a pandemic poem. You might recognize the shape. Changed. Let's see. The obvious question for virtual reading: how was the pandemic and all its strictures change the way you work, read, and make sense of your place in the writing community? What are you reading right now? All good questions. Has it changed the way I work? Well, less contact with people theoretically translates to more time to write. That's not always true though, because I take a lot of energy from other people, not like in the vampire way, it just like hopefully circulating energy. Is the art acrylic while I'm answering this other question? It's pen. That much I know. A lot of these poems came out of one of those sort of 30 in 30 days projects. It was a fundraiser for a Seattle lit organization. And in that way, I felt like non-pandemic, I didn't kind of accept those challenges or invitations. And I had more space for it. Of course, there's a lot of hamster wheel action going since the pandemic as well. Again, you know, a lot of energy stirring and not circulating. So the work is hit and miss. Also, I work on other projects and I write marketing copy, which, you know, that gets in there and rolls around too. What am I reading? So in terms of research for a project that I'm working on now, there were a lot of F's I noticed on my shelf. One was Fracture. The editors are Taylor Brorby and Stephanie Brooke Trout, the fabulously named Stephanie Brooke Trout. And Fracture is a combination of essays and poems and stories about the effect of fracking, the extraction of oil in the United States specifically. I am swimming my way through Fathoms, The World in the Whale by Rebecca Giggs. Just finished reading twice Pilgrim Bell, Kaveh Akbar, and Horsepower by Joy Priest, which is amazing. Just imagery and tone and power. Vegetarian Alcoholic Press, the aforementioned poetry press, does a subscription. And in my latest packet, I got a book called Mycelial Person by Amanda Monty, which is so interesting. Just takes wonderful liberties with voice and form. And there's sort of a street art project that she included in there. A book called Employment by Gina Tron, also fabulous, almost a hermit crab of job applications, and then stories, poems about those. I have go-to poets that I go to when I just need to read them. Vivi Francis is a favorite. Natalie Diaz, of course. And who's not in love with Ross Gay? I'm sure there are people out there, but what are you thinking? Yeah, and again, back to this whole internet thing. There's constantly opportunities to hear people read their work and talk about the future of art, capital A and small a, what it means to try to stick to process in this time, or develop process, or let yourself find new process. I do a lot of different kinds of things for that reason, you know, a little squirrely, so I gotta jump around. Let's see. All right, we have 5 minutes. If there are no more questions, I'm going to ride out on the lullaby, which is a poem that I wrote after the 2016 election. That was a bad night, except for the part where I got to sit in Sisters, Oregon in a beautiful building and listen to C.A. Conrad do a reading / performance. because he's very inspirational and funny and wonderful. But we took a my poetry people took a prosody class last year. Hey Nancy, and we were challenged to write into musical form. So we were given the example of Cole Porter's Just One of Those Things. And this poem is called C.A. Conrad Inspires a Lyric at the Belfry. And I'm going to sing it. Silken eyes, feather and fray, hands folded and fingernails pink, button undone, shirt seam shot to thread, polynylon wink. Prophet warns a murderous ruse, tells us hope's a Birkenstock to the neck, let's finger the swamp and ripple the roots, love's a muddy drink. We visit Edgar Case in the crystal trees and store fresh eggs under the floor. With the factory soot he paints mourning doves who can't sing but linger and molt. In the end our plasters are cracked. Still dripping we flap to the air where the moon is hung. Newly hatched we squint in the glare. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Shannon Wolf. Thank you, Poets in Pajamas. Sponsored by Sundress Publications. Oh, do not miss November 17th, Tamiko Beyer. Hope I'm saying that right, and if I'm not, I apologize and I'll correct it. And November 7th, Petra Cuppers are up on this series next. Everyone has been great. I have enjoyed them. You can get onto them after the fact. Thanks for coming.